One of my favorite books is The Little Prince, especially the part when the prince encounters a garden full of roses when he traveled to another planet. He had a rose that he cared after back on his planet, and that rose claimed that it is the only rose in the world. The prince was rather shocked when he saw so many other roses, but then he quickly realized that although his rose was not the only one in the world, it was the rose very special to him because he tamed it and looked after it. "It is the time that I lavished on my rose," said the little prince, "so as to be sure to remember." "Men have forgotten this basic truth," said the fox, "but you must not forget it. For what you have tamed, you become responsible forever. You are responsible for your rose." I was reminded of this story when I read about Adolf Loos's home in his youth. Reminiscing about the interiors of his youth, Loos observed that he did not grow up in a stylish home. Not a work of art, the house was his family's product. It was our table, ours. So too for the other furnishings. The writing table with the ink stain, the picture of his parents, the clock in the knit slipper, and so on. Every piece of furniture and object told a story. Altogether they narrated family history. As a result, the house was never finished. It grew along with us, and we grew within it. I empathize Adolf Loos's view on relationship between humans and materials that surround them. Although weathering is at times discussed in purely aesthetic means, to me weathering is about taming of materials. How we use it, how we choose to maintain it, or choose not to maintain it. Like this bike that I owned for 7 years now. Some wear and tears. The fixture for my bike lock broke a while ago, so when I ride my bike, I usually hold my bike lock on my right hand with the handle, so the handle kind of deformed. But it's all good for now. I like my bike. I think weathering is about history of the relationship between myself and the materials around me. I went through streets where I usually pass by very quickly when I commute, and I saw some instances where I found some things that seemed to be tamed by people. These vines that wrap around steel beams were quite beautiful. This tree was tamed to stay on the sidewalk. The brickwork sunken by the weight and time of cars coming in and out of the garage. Maintenance of facade. I think it is some kind of tile work or maybe even a paint work to make the walls appear like bricks. But I think they are in the process of renewing it. And I wasn't sure if this was to erase the weathering of the building or to care for it, to love it more. But the house was being tamed for sure. A clean brick facade compared to the patina on the eaves. And somehow this wooden door was the shiniest thing on this building. It was almost glaring. Compared to the side door that showed little care. Very dry and dull. But where the hands pushed the door was kind of smooth and shiny. I did see some instances where weathering of materials did not seem so desirable or pleasant, but they also had their own charm, I think. They're unique and unpredictable. They may have their own stories and memories that I do not know. Corbusier in the book was described as if he believed that he could change humanity by means of purity of architecture. But the relationship between people and architecture is never so unidirectional. Architecture can change the way we perceive the world, but architecture can weather and transform by the way people perceive them. Humans will subtractively or additively transform their built environment to tame them for their needs, and natural elements will also tame the built environment to localize the materials. And I think it is important for people to care about their surroundings, maintain them. But for that to happen, architects should design buildings that are worthy of their care. Both users and architects can anticipate in the way buildings weather, but how much an architect should intervene in the weathering process is something that I cannot fully comprehend yet.